So we had looked at how you know what the chords are in any given key for guitar chords, and we were looking at the major keys, and we were using the key of C as an example. And there was a formula written out in the toolkit called simply major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. And that refers to the quality of the chords, if they're going to be major, minor, or diminished. And that diminished chord, we said we're not going to worry too much about that at this point. But for homework, we thought it'd be a good idea if you got comfortable playing through the open chords for the keys, particularly the key of C, where we don't have to worry about any sharps or flats. And so for homework, we talked about starting with the root, the C, following the musical alphabet. So after C is D, and then we need the chord formula to tell if it's going to be major or minor. So a C major, a D minor, an E minor, an F major, a G major. That's our 5 chord. Our 6 chord is going to be the A minor. Our 7th is the diminished, and then we're back to the C. And I may have used bar chords there, sorry about that. So practice in different keys. So for the key of A, we'd start with our root as A major. B is the next letter in the alphabet. Again, we know from our chord formula that our second tone, or excuse me, our second chord is going to be minor. So A minor, B minor, C sharp minor, D, E, F sharp minor is our 6, and then we have our diminished chord back to our root. So play through those. Use the PDF that's in the toolkit so you have the visual in front of you of the different chords that are available in each key. The second thing we talked about practicing is taking the idea of triads, just those same chords, say in the key of C. So let's just talk about the first 3, C, D minor, and E minor, but playing them on the top 3 strings, which means you'll learn different chord shapes as you go up the neck. And we're going to refer to this in later lessons as we talk about finding harmony lines and melody lines for your chords, from your chords. So if we started with C, if I'm making the full C, but I only carry about these 3 strings, I'm only fretting the B string on the 2nd fret, which is my C note. So that would be for the first chord in the key of C. Then we go to a D minor. Then we go to an E minor. So I'm going to slide my D minor up, D sharp, E minor. Here's my F chord. It's my D shape F chord. And I'm on the 5th fret because here's a D, D sharp, E. And remember, between E and F and B and C, when we looked at the piano keyboard, there's no black keys. Well, there's no sharps or flats. So C, and I'm only plucking the top 3 strings. C, D minor, E minor, F, G on the 7th fret, a D shape on the 7th fret. A minor is my 6. So C, D minor, 2, E minor, 3. My 4 chord in the key of C is an F major. My 5 chord is a G. My 6 is an A minor. And then we have our diminished. And we said it's kind of fun to practice with a 7 chord, which is your 5th chord, before going back to the 1. So after we get to our 6th chord, we go back to our G chord, make it a major 7 chord, and then resolve back to the C chord. So that's another way to start practicing your chord shapes. And I've only used 2 shapes. There's my minor shape. So I'm starting here in D minor, but if you noticed, when I made an E minor or an A minor, I'm using the same triad shape. And it's the same when I got to the F major. I'm using my D major shape. Oops, excuse me, F, G. And if you think about our C chord, it's really our D shape down here, but we don't have any strings here. So that's our C chord, but we're stealing that note. So that's a good way to remember that of the 7 chords we play, they'll be either major or minor. And using this example, the triads going up the neck, the D minor chord is the D minor shape that we're using for our D minor, our E minor, and the 7th fret being our A minor. And then for the major chords in the key of C, we have C, F, our D shape F, and our D shape G. So play those chords just using the triads, and we'll talk in later lessons about how you find counter melodies and harmonies off of that. The final thing I showed you, again, which is also a harmony lesson, is if we take our E-shaped G chord, this is our bar chord, our G on the 3rd fret. I'm calling it E-shaped because if I'm E down here and I apply the musical alphabet, F, F sharp G, so there's my E-shaped G chord, but I only really care about this little beginning of it, which really from our F chord is this half of the bar chord, but I only want these 2 notes from the G. So I'm going to fret the high E string on the 3rd fret, and I'm going to fret the G string on the 4th fret. So I'm skipping the B string, we're not going to play that. I'm just plucking these 2 strings. So the beginning of Brown Eyed Girl over the G chord is, so it's this shape on the 3rd and 4th fret, and then we're going to use this shape on the 5th fret. So it's 5 and 5 for the, and all of this is done on the E and G strings. So 3, 4, 5, 5, 7, 7. So I walk it up and walk it back, and all that's over the G chord. I'm actually tuned in a not standard tuning, so I don't want to strum them all or it won't sound right. And then the next chord in Brown Eyed Girl goes to a C, but I know that my E-shaped C chord is up here on the 7th fret. So just like I started my E-shaped G chord on the 3rd fret, I could go start the exact same shapes starting on the 7th fret. So it's really these 2 shapes. So that's 3, 4, 5, 5, 7, 7, and then 7, 9, 7, 8, 10, 10, 12, 12. All right, have fun with it. Thanks.